If you wanna talk, you can call me. Call me now. Call me. Call me anytime. Call me. Call me now. Call me. Call me anytime. If you wanna talk, you can call me. If you still believe in well, call me now. Call me. If you still believe in well, call me anytime. Call me. It's your family and I'll call me.
You can't really call me anytime, but you can call me right now if it's 1:07 in the afternoon. You could call me at 888-720-9677, 888-720-WNPR. I'm going to turn the ringer off on my phone. I just thought about that. And we do have people calling up already. I'd just like to, before we get started here, I have a question. It's not an observation, it's a question. My question is, what makes Ryan Reynolds run? Because you think about Ryan Reynolds, and he was very successful in rom-coms, right? He was in rom-coms. He's Sandra Bullock's personal assistant. I don't know what that's called. It's in Alaska, and Betty White is. Never mind. And then, of course, they're very successful in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, personally, Deadpool is like I would not, if you give me my choice of all the Marvel superheroes, Deadpool would be dead last. I would not want to be Deadpool. But still, very popular there, and just popular generally speaking. And then what? Doesn't he buy an English football club, Wrexham? Doesn't he buy that? And then he starts his own phone company. He starts his own phone company, and now he does commercials for his phone company. That's his phone company, and they're really good commercials too. He's very funny in the commercials. But I'm thinking, when will he be satisfied? When will Ryan Reynolds think, okay, it is time to lie down and rest? I've done the things that I needed to do with my life. I mean, he's probably a pretty young guy at this point, but I mean, what is... And I think this is also kind of bearing down on me a little bit more because, as you know, Taylor Swift has announced her engagement, and the happy couple is probably going to get married. No, I think we know. Do we know that they're getting married at Watch Hill? I think we do. And my college friend, Mr. Karp, has a house very nearby Taylor Swift's. And the Reynolds Lively's, that's another thing Ryan Reynolds did. He married Blake Lively. The Reynolds Lively's, they are friends. And so they will be coming to, they're friends with the Swift Kelseys. They'll be coming, and maybe Mr. Karp will invite me down. Maybe I'll run into Ryan Reynolds on the streets of Watch Hill, and I'll just say, what is it you want? What is ever going to be enough, Ryan? I mean, I think he seems a very genial person. I'm not saying this as a criticism. I'm actually sort of inquiring about his motives, I'm just wondering, what are Ryan Reynolds' motives? Anyway, it's time to begin the show, and so let's do that with Chris in Avon. Hi, Chris. No, you know what? Chris is not popping down there right now. Okay, we could try something else. Why don't we try Eric, see if he pops up. Eric? No. So we're not going to be taking any calls for just a second until I figure this out. So, but we do have on the line Chris, Mike, Eric, and possibly Catherine as well. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to talk a little bit more, not about Ryan Reynolds, but about something else with the initials RR, because I've just been told in my headphones that they need me to fill. So you don't even know if you're listening now, you don't know the whole story about Trader Joe's. Never mind about Trader Joe's. But before I get to Trader Joe's on Tuesdays, I go and I see my psychotherapist. And when I do that, lately we've been talking a little bit about FOMO, because I'm very busy right now with a lot of family things, a lot of things going on, and I'm feeling like I'm missing out on the rest of my life. And so she was talking to me about this is going somewhere, I promise. She was talking to me about how you meditate, how you root yourself in the present. You just take a few minutes to just root yourself in the present moment. And so the idea was that, and I've tried to meditate in the past, but I have what is sometimes called monkey mind. And monkey mind is sort of when your mind is kind of chattering at you and distracting you from your moment of meditation. And of course, the other problem with the moment of meditation is you're supposed to be not thinking. about stuff. And that's very hard to do. And the monkey mind's going, well, instead of not thinking about stuff, how about this? How about that? So she told me something very useful, which is you have to have a thing. This is where mantras come in, right? This is why people have mantras, because if your mind gets distracted and it wanders away and it goes in the direction of the monkeys, I guess the mind is the monkey. If your mind climbs up in a tree and starts hurling feces at passersby, you need some way to get your mind back where it's supposed to be. And that's why people use mantras. But then she said you could use all kinds of things. So you could use sort of an image. And so that got me thinking about the spiritual guide Ram Dass. Because Ram Dass wrote a book called Be Here Now, which is really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about being here now, being located in a present moment. And so this is all kind of racing through my mind as I'm sitting there with my therapist. And so I started thinking about Ram Dass and Be Here Now. And then, unfortunately, and these are the kinds of things that kind of roll around like ball bearings in a person's mind as he ages. When I was a young person and National Lampoon was a thing, they had a column, a sort of spirituality column that was mocking other kinds of sort of spiritual teachers with more or less kind of Asian or quasi-Asian spiritual bases. But anyway, the column was written by, bear in mind, Ram Dass, who was actually an American. His real name was, I think, was Richard Alpert. But anyway, their column was written by Baba Rum Raisin. So all of this is running through my mind as my therapist is talking to me about how I need something to locate myself in a present moment so that my thoughts don't run away from me and become monkeys. So I started to picture a scoop of rum. I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and I begin to picture a scoop of rum raisin ice cream. It's not something that I would ordinarily order, but I think I could sort of picture it. And it seemed, like a lot of ice cream it seems kind of stripy, a little bit of striations of rum and possibly raisins going through it. And so every time my mind would begin to wander away, I would picture this scoop of ice cream. This scoop of rum raisin ice cream. And after a while, even though I wasn't supposed to be thinking about things like this, I thought I might be onto something here. Like this could be really big. This could be the key to world harmony. I may have actually figured out something like that, just a scoop of rum raisin ice cream. If we all concentrate on it enough, there'll be a harmonic convergence and the world will be healed. All right. So, I also have to say that, there's a way that this could have turned into the pregame show because somebody, I don't think I need to mention who, is making a big announcement at 2 p.m. And so, I mean, it's kind of like, usually you know what the announcement's going to be, but we don't know what the announcement's going to be. And so people are betting on things. And what if Donald Trump were to say, really, I've been picturing a scoop of rum raisin ice cream and it started to really clear my thoughts out, and I'm going to be a more peace-seeking, less vengeful person, and I'm going to really treat all people as though they deserve to be here on this planet. But I mean, so I'm just sort of laying down my marker. I thought of this first, is what I'm saying. All right, so why don't we take a break right now? We'll take a break. Or we can try to do something else. I'm being told to my headphones. So should we go to Chris? Go to Chris? Yeah, that's good. It works. I can see it. It's working. Something good happened. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
So I was asking before about Ryan Reynolds' motives. What are your thoughts about Ryan Reynolds' motives?
I think his motives is to keep ahead of his wife and what she's doing by changing direction constantly. You haven't been keeping up because Blake and Taylor are no longer besties.
Oh, they don't like it? Is she not going to the wedding?
Oh, God, no.
Really?
Maybe they want Ryan to go, but they do not want Blake to go. So, you got to keep up here.
If Ryan shows up all by himself, I wonder if he'll want to stay at Mr. Karp's house with me and Mr. Karp.
Maybe.
I'll really get to know him that way. And then I'll find out. I can say, what makes you run? What is your motive?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
what did you want? Actually, you wanted to talk about something very similar.
I want to. Well, when there's murders, and there's murders that make the news. We had, the school shooter last week,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always about this obsession about motive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, for beginners, the shooter last week has documented their motive ad nauseum, and so I was like, why do it? But this is often the case where we have to figure out what and what does motive even mean? This person decided that they wanted to kill somebody, or
right. Actually, you were echoing the words. I should say another thing that we're introducing today is what we call 1% Swedish content. We're not getting anything right now from the government of Sweden, but if the government of Sweden is listening right now, we're initiating 1% Swedish content on this show. And so a generous donation to public radio would be good. So I have a friend who's Swedish, and he and I walk in the park with a bunch of other people every day. And he has a friend who's a police detective in Sweden, who's a murder detective in Sweden. And one of he has two general operating policies. One of them, or possibly three, the other one might be just don't even go to work in the summer because you already have terrible insomnia. But no, his two major policies are don't believe in coincidences. Just hate the idea of coincidences. And then the other one is motive. He said, don't think about motive. And the reason that he believes this is that you would never really understand, particularly with the murder, you're never going to understand why somebody murdered somebody else, because there are, another out of 100 different sets of people, the other 99 could be dealing with exactly the same set of problems. I don't like the way he chews, whatever, and they don't kill the other person. So, trying to figure out the motive isn't particularly helpful because the motive is something that would not drive most people to murder. I think that's kind of what you're saying, too, that it's really ultimately indecipherable. Right.
Is it going to prevent another murder? Probably not. Yeah, because everybody has their own reasons for doing this, and knowing the motive is not going to. I think at some point they did do. They've done a lot of research on the psychology of certain, certain murderers, and especially like street crime, that kids shooting each other and that sort of thing, and that's useful.
Yes, and there was a guy named James Brussels back in the 1960s who became famous he was a criminal psychologist or psychiatrist, I guess, who was really kind of amazing at not figuring out motive so much as understanding what kind of person does this, which is, I think, a more useful thing. I guess when we're talking about profiling, that's what profiling is. What kind of person does a thing like this? Anyway, Chris, as usual, fascinating to talk to you. Have to move on here. We've got other people who want to talk, including somebody named Melissa Emma. Do you have two first names, Melissa Emma?
Yes.
Hi. You do? Okay.
Hi, Colin. Hi. How are you? I think this is might be the first time I've ever been on your show. But what made me call in and moved me to call in is you were talking about in therapy and meditation and trying to calm the monkey mind and how you're not supposed to have thoughts. And I was like, fallacy. But I will say, before I get into that, your monkey mind is the brilliant part of yourself that allows you to do this show and then ad-lib when the phone lines aren't working.
Right. I just did 5 minutes on rum raisin ice cream. I should be getting some kind of award. I should be getting that, whatever award they're giving to Steve Inskeep this year. I want that award. Steve Inskeep, he couldn't talk for 5 minutes about rum raisin ice cream if his life depended on it. All right, continue.
I'm gonna add that to my meditation. I'm going to meditate on the rum raisin, and maybe we'll have a global change. Yeah. But anyway, so it's not that you're not supposed to have thoughts or monkey mind. So first of all, we've evolved to think all the time. You're not going to beat a billion years of evolution. The point is that we think, and what happens is the object of your meditation becomes that you are having monkey mind. Oh, that a thought. Watch the thought come up. Watch how it might change. Watch how it goes away, becomes another thought. Maybe you end up creating space in between the thoughts, right?
Yeah,
sometimes
I think my
you
therapist. First of all, I hope you're not casting asparagus on my therapist because she's an excellent therapist, and I think that's pretty consistent with what she was saying
Okay,
to me.
because I'm like, he just told the world that you're not supposed to think when you meditate, and I was like, don't do that. No, that's not it. No.
So, do you like scream like that when other people are meditating? Because I mean, I would think that would be kind of a monkey mindy kind of feeling.
Oh my
thingy.
gosh, I have monkey mind, and I'm just from Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. So I guess we're just really loud. Am I yelling? I don't notice.
I thought you were like yelling off mic about monkey mind or something. Well, I think we're in agreement. I think we're more in agreement than in disagreement. But the whole idea about like for meditation is to ultimately. Well, I don't know what the whole idea is. Clearly, I don't. But it was like a two-way street between me and my therapist. And I think I did actually, when my thoughts would start to wander, I would concentrate on the scoop of ice cream, and I would come back.
Did it work?
Yes, it did. It did work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it works, that's great. That's fabulous.
I don't want to overstep, but I think it could really help you. You might calm down. You might be thinking less about Buddy Cianci than you do. I mean, I'm sure if you're from Rhode Island, you've got all kinds of things going on that you might need some help with. So yes, and how do you pronounce Quahog?
Quahog. I don't even know.
You're from Rhode Island, and you don't know how to. Yeah, I'm unsure about that. Well, anyway,
Quahog, I think is the way I've heard it said. So, and I've never gone quahogging. And I just feel like I got FOMO.
Well,
FOMO from that.
That's your story. All right, I bet you go quahogging a lot. Anyway, we have to take a little break. We come back, but the number is 888-720-9677. I'm not sure why anyone would call into the show at this point, but 888-720-WNPR.
For these times, I wasn't made for these times. I wasn't made for these times. I wasn't made for these times. I guess I just wasn't made for these times.
Shine, little glowworm, glimmer, glimmer. Shine, little glowworm, glimmer, glimmer. Lead us lest too far we wander. Love's sweet voices calling yonder. Shine, little glowworm, glimmer, glimmer. Hey there, don't get dimmer, dimmer. Light the path below, above, and lead us on to love. Fly of fire, glow like
That is a new single from Lil Durk. He's going in a very different direction these days, and I like it. I like what he's doing. All right. No, that was Kurt Elling, actually. And welcome to the show. The number is 888-720-9677. The concept is Ask or Tell Me Anything. 888-720-WNPR. Let's go to Eric, and he's going to show you how it's done. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Colin. I have monkey mind challenges, too, especially as an OCD sufferer. And one of the things that I try and do, or one strategy that I use to manage it, is to observe something, to watch something, the behavior of something, and to focus on what you're observing, because when you're looking at say, let's say the behavior, the grooming behavior of a fly. Let's say you have a fly that's on a table, or you're in the library and you have a fly on the window ledge, which has happened with me every once in a while. I often watch the way the flies, which are very often green bottle flies, the shiny green ones, the way they groom themselves by rubbing their front legs together and then rubbing their legs over their heads and eyes and then rubbing their hind legs together and using those to groom their wings and abdomens. When you had your
let me just break in for 1 second. Do the flies ever look up and you go, mind your own business? Go look at someone else.
No.
I mean, it's like you're violating their privacy. The flies have HIPAA rights, or they have HISA rights, or something. They have something, and so. And yeah, and don't they throw up in their food before they eat it too? No wonder they have to groom themselves. I don't know. They probably just ate, and they're like wash with with like little alcohol swabs, and just to try to get the whole memory out of their minds. But flies probably don't have monkey mind. Flies only think about what they just did.
Well, that's just the thing to kind of well, we don't know. That's an anthropomorphic analysis. We don't know for certain whether flies.
The guy who's watching the flies groom. You're saying I'm being anthropomorphic? You don't even know that they're grooming. With the flies going. Well, I'm putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie, dusting up my tails.
Well, let's just
help me.
Yeah, let's just say eccentric.
All right.
But well, anyway, when you had your interview with Jonathan Balcombe, who wrote the book Superfly, I don't know if you remember that, I really took an interest in it, and it's made me into somewhat of a fly-watching fanatic, because,
Boy, talk about a lonely club, Fly watching fanatics meeting in the Grange Hall at 7 p.m. I think nobody shows. It's just you.
Well, yeah, that very often I think is exactly what happens, and but for something that's so common and ordinary, flies do engage in some really fascinating behaviors, and one of them is the way they clean themselves. And grooming, according to what I found out online, it's really important to a fly's overall health and survival, because the reason why flies groom is to remove powder or rather dust and microorganisms from their bodies so that their senses are clear. In other words, their senses are not obstructed by.
Oh, that's good. Yes, it's a survival mechanism. It's not mere vanity.
No, it isn't.
Right.
It isn't.
No, and that's good. That's good. First of all, I want to salute you for. I just really do mean this. I mean, it kind of ties in with what we were talking about before about meditation and mindfulness. That's he's right. One thing you could do, you could really just focus in on a fly. You could isolate. You could do it like what they call ISO. They used to call that in sports, like just isolate the camera right on a fly, and then see what the fly has to teach you about life. All right, so I'm going to go right down the line right now. We can just keep talking, right? We can. I've lost track of what's happening now, but I think we can just keep talking. Here's Mike. Mike in Woodbury. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Colin. Oh, let me before I get to my point, let me just say that Rich's Farm in Oxford has really great rum raisin ice cream. Just so you know.
I thought you were about to say they have really great flies on that farm, and I thought I'm not going to drive all the way out there just to see flies.
I've never saw a fly in one of their ice creams, but anyway. So this is not a terribly original thought. It's been made by many others, but it bears repeating as much as possible, which is that when Trump was running in 2016, in one of his rallies, he said, "I love the poorly educated," which at the time I thought was kind of a weird thing to say, but that was, of course, before I realized that everything he says is kind of weird. But it made sense at the time because, his constituency, his largest constituency, most enthusiastic seemed to be people without without college educations, high school dropouts and everything. But now I realize that what he was really saying is that, if knowledge is power, then ignorance is power for those who wish to subjugate and rule over the uneducated. The less you know about economics, science, history, the more you are likely to believe what this guy feeds you every day.
Yeah, I think I would go a little further and say that what has happened here, and I think it's one of the most profound aspects to the moment we're living in, is that, back in the very beginning of Trump's first presidency, we had Kellyanne Conway say the whole thing about alternative facts. And before that, we had the member of the Bush administration, we believe it was Karl Rove, talk to a journalist and say, well, you're still living in the reality-based community. What they've really managed to do at this point is kind of break our epistemology so that ultimately you can't really have a conversation anymore in which you say, well, this is clearly true, and this is clearly true, and this is clearly true, because people aren't participating anymore in the same realities. And yes, some of it has to do with being poorly educated or being easily manipulated, but some of it's also, it's impossible to have a conversation about what happened over the last 5 days in the Department of Health and Human Services and the discharging of the CDC director and all the people who quit, because the people who really like it, there is no fact that you could present to them that would change their minds, because we have really completely separate universes of truth and facts. And it's even worse, kind of, it's not just that ignorant people are easier to control. The people who are really easy to control, they're people who will believe anything because you said it. And some of those people aren't even all that ignorant or stupid, but they've just made a decision. Life is really complicated. I don't know what to think some of the time, but if President Trump says it, I will believe it. Or if one of his minions says it, I will believe it. And it's a real problem now, because you can't move a conversation very far before you bump into that.
No, exactly. I have a friend who believes in many conspiracy theories, and it is impossible to argue. There's no point in arguing. Just change the subject. Don't argue, because there's no way you can use logic or facts or anything else. They just dismiss everything. Yep,
we've really hit kind of a pretty horrible wall here. All right, I'm just going to go down this list here, and we're going to get to various people. And we got another mic up next, and then we'll go to Catherine. And we got a whole bunch of people who want to talk, and we're going to get you all on the air here. Hi, Mike. You have the floor.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Just want to kind of change the narrative. That's something positive, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. School starts this week.
Yep.
And with all the violence that happens, I'd like to change how we refer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of calling it mass shootings, I think we should start calling it mass killings. Let's let people think about that for a minute. It's not shooting, it's killings.
Yeah, the only thing that I have a problem with that is, in some ways, we over-focused on the killings, because in any mass shooting, there are people who are injured, people who will likely go through their lives with the physical scar, in some cases, some incapacity caused by the shooting that didn't kill them, to say nothing of the psychological scarring that happens to, I'm sure pretty much every kid who's been anywhere near close to one of these school shootings is scarred, possibly forever, by it. So, yeah, yes, it is a mass killing, but it's also a mass shooting, and it affects more people than the people who get killed. I get what you're saying, and I'm sympathetic with you. You have my sympathies, but I think it's actually kind of a mistake to pretend that the only tragedies there are the people who die. Those are terrible tragedies, obviously. But there's a whole other set of secondary and tertiary tragedies that fall more under the category of shootings. But anyway, thanks for the thought. Let's go to Catherine in New London. The number, by the way, is 888-720-9677. I think we have already proven that we will take a call about anything. 888-720-WNPR. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Colin. I knitted a whole pot holder while I was waiting.
I'm so sorry. But is it a nice pot holder?
No. Of course it is. They're great. Anyway, dear, I don't want to bring people down, and I'm trying to stay positive in this terrible atmosphere. But I was very concerned to hear, and I think it was Howard Lutnick or one of the minions, say something about Social Security being an entitlement. No, honey, we worked for it. We earned our money. And what I'm concerned about is I didn't realize that I have this underlying angst And when the first comes around and the money does arrive, I realize I'm starting to breathe more deeply. And that's not fair, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't want to defend Howard Lutnick, but entitlements actually that's a kind of a term of legislation. So he may have been talking about that as opposed to, you know, people who feel entitled to something. It's kind of the opposite almost.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but all I know is I've got my pennies allotted, and I'm managing to live on it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, you know, one of the rules of worrying is, will worrying about something change the situation at all? And worrying about your Social Security won't change anything. So I would say don't waste a lot of time doing that.
What I want to say to you, I said in the beginning, it's an undercurrent. I didn't even realize, because I live by the motto of one day at a time, which all recovery programs push, which is great. Yeah. So every morning I get up, I go for nice walkies, I'm feeling great. And it wasn't until I realized the month had changed that I said, shoot, I better check and see, make sure my money came in.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's good to do. And thank you so much for your call, by the way. I'm just kind of moving down because a lot of people, as long as we're on somewhat sad subjects, we're going to go to Inthia. Is that how you say your name?
Yes, that's true. Nithya.
Yeah, okay.
Without a C.
Nithya. Okay, I got it. Go ahead.
I have called before. I was the first couple to get married at Manchester Road Race.
Wow. I think I remember this, yeah.
Yeah, I had called before. Yes. So the topic that I want to discuss about is the immigration issues. I recently lost my mom on July 2nd. I never got to see her. She passed away, and my twin sister got to visit her because she's a citizen of the United States. I'm in the process of transitioning from being a green card holder to being a citizen who's married to a white person. So with the immigration issues going on, I wasn't sure that if I go back, would I be able to come back to this country?
Yes, first of all, that's a heart-rending story. And first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss, but also so sorry that you were kind of severed from her at a time when you wanted to be at her side. And it just no chance to really say goodbye in person. And I mean, I think it's worth dwelling on this for a moment. One of the things that does bother a lot of us, I mean, whenever these kind of punitive immigration policies come up, the answer is always, well, they broke a law. They broke a law. My ancestors came here in 1910, and they didn't they didn't break any laws. And here you are. You're a good example of this, but there are many more of people who are following the rules, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, showing up for the appointments, and those people are getting grabbed. And
right.
it's really.
I'm literally on tears. I was on this country legally on a dependent visa, and I did pay my taxes. And here I am. I did not get to see my mother during her final days, and did not get. It's just it brings me to tears. It's not just COVID, which is affecting people.
Yeah,
there are immigration issues like this, which are affecting not just one minority, but a large scale of minority.
Yeah, people who did what they were supposed to do are being punished, and that strikes me as terribly, terribly wrong. I'm sorry. I really am genuinely sorry this is happening to you. And thank you for being the voice of it, though, because I think you're speaking for a lot of other people who are maybe not calling this show. All right, so what I think we will do now is take our second break. I think things are going quite swimmingly right now. I'm going to groom myself a little bit. I need to there's a part of my underbelly that I need to brush with my hairy legs. See, this is why people ask us to post the song list, because the songs are often really interesting. I would say that that's Martina da Silva. That's a Maestro's Choice by Dylan Reyes, our technical producer. But Martina da Silva was also played earlier on the show doing Brian Wilson's I Just Wasn't Made for These Times. And then the person you heard ripping up that Nina Simone tune coming out of the last break, going into the last break, was Nicole Zaritis on her Live from Vic's Las Vegas album. All right, which is new, fairly new. All right, so who else do I have to thank? I have to thank Jonathan McPants. I have to thank Pants. McPants, I'm trying to set up the next call. And also, Robyn Doyon-Aitken is the person answering the phones when you call 888-720-9677, 888-720-WNPR. I'd also like to thank Joe Koss, who's running all the cameras and things like that here. We're on YouTube. We're on the CT Public YouTube channel, live right now. And I'd like to thank Webley, the office fly, who's been lying here grooming himself. All right, so we're going to go back. We're going to take your calls. And we are going to begin with Carl. Carl has a question or possibly a complaint. Hi, Carl.
Hey, Colin. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad to be on the show. Not a complaint, just an observation. I want to talk about the curse of the inside joke. The curse is that it's great for us, the people who have the joke and who know what you're talking about, or me or anybody. And a curse for everyone else that sits around scratching their head going, what the heck? So, you brought up McPants. That's a really good example.
I was trying to set you up that way.
I've heard for years you've talked about Jonathan McPants. I was like, that can't be his real name. So it was only when I went to your anniversary party at the Peabody and I met you and I knew that it was Jonathan
McNichol.
Someone else.
Yeah, Jonathan McNichol. So here's the problem with that one. It's sort of a Zen inside joke in that it's sort of not based on anything. I mean, it's not like there's this really funny story about pants that we haven't told everybody else. It's kind of not based on much of anything. It probably is connected in some way to the fact that David Letterman's production company was called Worldwide Pants. But
Worldwide Pants.
And pants is just kind of funny. Like, pants is a funnier word than, say, trousers. Trousers, unless you're in Monty Python, trousers is not as funny as pants. I also do want to commend to you, the thing that you're talking about was I think, addressed in the most effective way on the sitcom 30 Rock. There was an episode where Tracy Jordan, played by Tracy Morgan, had been away for a few days, and he came back, and something happened among his office friends, .com, Grizz, and Kenneth LePage, and one of them said, "Smooth move, Einstein," and then they all laughed. And he said, "What does that mean? Why are you laughing?" And he said, they said it was just something that happened while you were away. And then Tracy Jordan, he couldn't stand it. It was bothering him so much that there was a joke that he didn't understand, and he kept bringing it up. And finally, he made them do kind of a historical reenactment of whatever had led up to the phrase "smooth move, Einstein." So, yes, you can. It is true. Nobody likes being left out of something. But I would say in the case of Jonathan McPants, we are not concealing anything, really, except what is normally concealed by pants.
So what do you think normally about inside jokes? Like I'm in a band and I have a podcast, and in that audience we have things that we bring up over and over again, but you'd have to like go way back in history to know the origin of it. But it's within the group, right?
Right.
I don't get up in front of people and tell an inside joke because nobody will understand it. So I don't know what you think of that.
I think sometimes the idea that there's a kind of an ongoing joke to which one might become privy at some point if one paid enough attention. I mean, for example, there's a podcast that I listen to a lot. It's hosted by a British comedian named Frank Skinner. And there are things there that get brought up or get said that you wouldn't understand if you hadn't listened to the podcast for a really long time.
Right.
But I think that sometimes you're just sort of rewarding all the people who've been with you for a while. I could be very off-putting after a while, Carl. But thank you very much for your time. And we're going to go right now. Yeah, we got plenty of time here. So the number is 888-720-9677, 888-720-WNPR. Call up and tell Robyn Doyon-Aitken a private joke. But then it won't be a private joke anymore. All right, here we go. We have Robert. Robert's on the line. Hi, Robert.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. McEnroe. Love your show. Extremely reality community based, which is why I have a question for you. Yep. But in a good way, the reality community based, informative. I'm just hoping you could maybe make a prediction for me and clear something up for people like me fumbling around. with this administration, I just want to put aside for a second the fact that some people think it's the greatest administration since sliced bread. Maybe others consider it, a fascist dictatorship in training, perhaps, or at least a really shiny authoritarian reality TV show. Some ridiculous things going on, feds in the streets, raids, gator-infested pop-up prisons, and the state's taking private interest in companies, chips, NVIDIA, not Ruffles, and defense firms, Lockheed Martin, upending the economy with tariffs, banning art he doesn't like, Kennedy Center's wall-to-wall cats. So my question is, what is the next ridiculous thing that President Trump, that you think he's going to impose on Americans? Is he going to make everyone buy chickens like Gaddafi? What do you think is going to come out of maybe the MAGA Maha mind meld?
Yeah, that's a less frightening question than I thought that you were going to ask. But so yeah, no, I mean, it might be at 2:00. We might be 9 minutes or so away from finding out what the answer to that question is. And I think, in a way, it's not that I reject the question, but I do feel as though one of the things that he does is keep us occupied with the next thing. And way, way back in 2015 or 2016, I think it was Michael Moore, the documentary filmmaker Michael Moore, who compared it to, imagine that you're a vampire and that it really is true that vampires have to count everything. And what Trump does is he takes a huge handful of rice and he throws it up in the air. And while you, the vampire, are counting all those little grains of rice, he's actually doing the thing that you would have wanted to know about and you would have wanted to try to stop. And I do think that all of this stuff is, I think it's always been a distraction. Now, obviously, if he announces some weird thing at 2:00 today, it'll be because he's not releasing the Epstein files. The economy hasn't gotten that much better. People are really experiencing very, very high prices right now. He failed to do anything about Ukraine. He's failed to do anything about Gaza. Pretty much everything that he ran on is not happening the way that he promised it to happen. The outrageous stuff is that he said he would do, he's doing. But in terms of the delivery of things that might bring relief to taxpayers or relief to people who are suffering in situations in Gaza and Ukraine, he hasn't done any of that kind of stuff. He hasn't created any peace. He hasn't, and he won't release the Epstein files. So I think when he does stuff now, he's doing it to distract us from very specific things. It used to be to distract us from his true agenda. Now it's to distract us from his failure. And and also his polls are cratering. He's got the lowest approval rating he's had yet. So yeah, he wants to start conversations about other things, and some of those things are really quite silly. But the one thing I will say is I have no idea where this ends or how this ends. I think about it a lot. Most of the endings that I think of are kind of scary. But, life is full of... This mathematician who was on the show one time, his name was David Hand, I think, talked to me about what he called the law of inevitability. And what that was is that everything does happen. Things do happen. This is in connection with coincidences. He said really coincidences are the product of the law of inevitability, which is that things do happen. And pretty soon, because ultimately, infinitely, everything does happen, some things will happen kind of in conjunction with each other in a way that's kind of an illusion, as opposed to part of God's great plan or something like that. Oh, okay. Here's a different kind of question from Jason. Hi, Jason. You have the floor.
Hi, Colin. Thanks for taking my call. Just something that's been occurring to me lately. More and more these days, by the way, I have a dog, a golden retriever that I love. Lester is a great dog. But I've been noticing more and more an uptick in canine pets in different business establishments indoors. And even I, as a dog owner and a person who loves dogs, I'm kind of scratching my head as to whether that's always appropriate. But I'm also wondering if there's any upside for anyone actually drawing a line, whether that's the business owner, whether it's a customer complaining about it to the business owner. I don't know. It just seems like if you do have a problem with that, there's probably not a lot of upside for you voicing your opinion, and so a lot of people don't. Just wondering what you think about that.
Yeah, first of all, see a lot of business establishments now that at least, have something, a sign posted somewhere or something on the menu or whatever saying you can't bring your dog in here unless it's a service dog, and we do require a certain kind of proof that it is a service dog. You can't just assert that about your dog. And, you want to balance things. And there are other countries, I don't know. The first time I ever went to Paris, I was startled by how many little dogs there were in really nice restaurants, just like sitting in their owners' laps or whatever. In some ways, it makes life a little bit more cheerful if there's dogs around, as long as they're not causing any trouble or upending things. I don't bring my dog, Declan, in stores or God knows, not a restaurant or anything, because I know that he would cause a lot of trouble because he's a bad dog. But if they're good dogs and they're just sitting there not causing any trouble, I think a lot of people enjoy that. But there are also some people who have really deep-seated phobias about dogs that they don't have any control over it. They don't have these phobias so they can get to be crabby about dogs. And then I think also, Jason, there's the question of establishments that have animals of their own in them. And I've always been kind of fascinated by that. There used to be a muffler place on, I think, Franklin or Maple Avenue in Hartford, where they had this huge Doberman. He was like this enormous Doberman. And he was just sort of there, and so you were waiting for your car to be fixed. He would come over to me because he knew I would scratch his head. And then I would have to scratch his head for like 30 minutes or something. He was like one of those dogs who you'd stop scratching and he'd look at you like, what? Are you serious? Do you want me to?
1 week ago, I was wearing shorts in a place where the owner had a dog, and the dog started licking my leg.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because he smelled my own dog.
Yeah.
But he probably licked my leg about 10 times, and I was like, wow, it's a good thing I'm not too crazy about that.
Yeah. Consent. Consent is really important. Before you lick anybody's leg, always obtain consent. But, and for a while, I think it was in Glastonbury. It might have been Best Cleaners in Glastonbury. This would have been back in the 70s. They had a minor bird. And the best thing about the minor bird was it would tell you, it would sort of bug you, like, get the steam press. It would ask you it would urge you to access other services that Best Cleaners had. And I like the idea of having, there should be more minor birds in public spaces. That's my policy. That's what I'm running for governor on. More minor birds in public places. Thanks for listening today. And, I'm sorry I couldn't have been better. No, I think it was a good show, actually.
When I wanted you to share my